Thank you, hello, and welcome everyone. We're so glad you're watching today. My name is Ana Maria Lopez Anderson, and I served as the chair of the 2021 USBBY Outstanding International Books Committee alongside Betty Parsons-Barger, the 2021 assistant chair and director of this video. It's my honor to introduce this presentation of the year's Outstanding International Books list. This is USBBY's 16th annual list of international books that are deemed most outstanding of those published during the calendar year. The 41 titles on the 2021 list range from picture books for very young children to poetry and novels for young adults, and everything in between. The 2021 list was selected by a committee of 9 members appointed by the USBBY board. You'll meet them later in this video, but for now, I would like to take this opportunity to thank each and every one of them for their time, expertise, insight, and commitment to our work this year. They are Betty Parsons-Barger, Patricia Bloom, Deanna Day, Jennifer Graff, Nancy Johnson, Mary Napoli, Quentin Russell, and Wendy Stedman-Stevens. Here we are in this screen capture, still excited about international books after many hours of Zoom deliberations. Thank you so much to this wonderful committee. It's been a joy. To select the Outstanding International Books list, the committee looks for international books from among those submitted to us by publishers that meet USBBY's selection criteria, including books that help readers in the U.S. see the world from other points of view, bridge gaps, and build connections. We evaluate books according to a set of content and presentation considerations that include creativity of approach, distinctiveness of topic, and uniqueness of origin. Not every book will meet every criterion equally. However, all of the books on the 2021 list are outstanding international books, and we are so excited to share them with you today. In a moment, each member of our committee will share 3 or 4 books from across the list, organized by theme. But first, presenting the 2021 USBBY Outstanding International Books list. We are so grateful for the work of artists, writers, and book creators, and for the support of publishers from around the world who are committed to bringing outstanding international books to children and young adults in the U.S. Thank you so much, and congratulations, everyone. Now I'm so excited to turn this presentation over to our committee members and to spotlight some of this year's books. Please be sure to check out all of the titles on the 2021 list, which is available in a PDF handout, and thank you so much for your interest in and enthusiasm for USBBY and international books. Happy reading, everyone.
Hello, my name is Pat Bloom. I'm a college English professor and a member of the Outstanding International Books Committee from USBBY. I want to present 3 books for you today about refugees that were very creatively written and illustrated and are accessible for children. The first one, Storyboat, is by Kioma Clare and illustrated by Rasheen Correa, who herself was a refugee as a child in the Iraqi-Iranian War. Between the art and the words, this book captures the interior life of a child. The family in a small community is journeying, stopping for a while and then moving on again. Here isn't always the same. They are here, then the family moves, then there's a new here. The author-illustrator team honors the struggles of refugees, but they portray people who are not just victims. Look, here is a song that everyone can sing, and here's the moon and a million sparkling stars. The author and illustrator show us the blue of the water, the orange of the life jackets, a cup which becomes their boat, and a blanket which becomes their sail. McClare said, "We think of refugees as people who wait and suffer, but I want to portray a story where refugees also imagine and dream and run towards life." The second book is for children who are a little older, Mexique, by Ferrada and Peñas, and published by Erdmans. Many of us probably have a gap in our knowledge of the Spanish Civil War and the historical event of many refugee children fleeing Spain and being welcomed by Mexico. But in 1937, 456 children sailed to Morelia, Mexico for safe haven. It was war in Spain, but Mexico welcomed them. Parents and children thought that they would be apart and separated for only a few months, but that is not what happened. Now, this book has not much text, but the art is arresting in its palette of black and white with the occasional bit of red children and adult readers both will feel the loneliness. Each child came with a packed suitcase and slept in a cot. On the boat, the older children reassured the younger, and the trip went on and on. And when they get off the boat, the narrator says, "We think that the war stayed behind, but it's not true. We bring the war in our suitcases." This book echoes, of course, other wars and other refugees and thousands of other children. This bit of history makes us see our own world differently. The third book is Paper Boat by Theo Lam. It's a wordless story about a refugee family that successfully flees Vietnam, and in part is autobiographical. But really there are two intertwined stories here, because early in the pages, there's a family of ants that are rescued by a little girl, and then they in turn show the way to the mother and the daughter of where the rescue boat is, so that they can find their way to safety. It's a particularly lovely touch that Lam shows the little girl dropping a paper boat for the ants, and that they clamber up, and that it's the ants who then are on the harrowing journey, rather than showing us the family themselves who are suffering. In the end, the ants and the humans are in a large city, eating a feast, and clearly all out of danger. These three books are highly recommended, very creative tellings, and we think that you and children will enjoy them.
Hi, I'm Betty Parsons-Barger, an associate professor at Winthrop University, where I have the pleasure of teaching children's literature. I also had the joy of serving as assistant chair for the 2021 OIB committee and loved every minute of my work with these wonderful colleagues. The theme I'm presenting today is that of mending relationships. In all three novels that I will discuss, there are tense relationships between siblings, and sometimes between siblings and their caregivers. As their stories unfold, characters learn more about themselves, recognize the importance of siblings, and mend the rifts that were moving them apart. A Time of Green Magic, written by Hilary McKay, published by McElderry Books, an imprint of Simon & Schuster. Abby and her father Theo have just joined families with Polly and her two sons, Max and Louis. Abby finds herself leaving everything she has known, what is familiar, and moving into a magical house straight out of a storybook. Ivy grows up the walls, and there is some mystery to it. Her only escape from her grubby toddler brother, who can't wait to be with her at every minute of the day, and her too-cool-for-school brother Max, who tries to make himself as scarce or as quiet as possible, is getting lost in books. Literally. Once she was reading on the living room sofa and found herself floating adrift on a raft at sea. The salt on her lips is the only reminder of it happening when Louis starts talking to her. Was she dreaming? Was it real? She's not the only one transported by books. If a small cat befriends Louis and grows and grows and grows, it is when things become dangerous that these three siblings learn to talk to each other, trust each other, and work together to put things right. The Land of Roar, written by Jenny McLaughlin, illustrated by Ben Markle, published by HarperCollins Children's Books. Rose and Arthur have been creating and playing in the Land of Roar since they were children. They poured their hearts and souls and wishes and dreams and fantasies into this magical land. Now they're in middle school. Rose wants nothing to do with Arthur, and Arthur is heartbroken. When Croaky, a scarecrow from Roar, comes to kidnap their grandfather, Arthur begs Rose to help him save him. Rose refuses, and Arthur goes anyway. When he enters the Land of Roar, there's a major tear. In the middle of the land, people and things are disappearing. Thankfully, Rose joins him on this journey, and as soon as she gets there, they begin to argue. When they do so, the tear gets bigger. The twins recognize it is their fighting that is destroying Roar. So, together, they come up with a solution, face their fears, and remember how good they are as a team. The Barren Grounds by David A. Robertson, published by Penguin Random House, Canada Young Readers. Morgan is in yet another foster home. She can't remember her first family, and she is so angry. Eli has been forcibly removed from his home and community. Both of these Indigenous children are lost and lonesome. When they find a portal into an icy world, one wants to explore, the other doesn't. There's a fight, and then they go anyway. They realize that there is perpetual winter, and without warm weather, the people and animals will starve. And so their quest begins. As they journey to restore balance, Morgan learns more about her heritage and finds a true friend in Eli. Her iciness begins to melt, as does that of the world. All three of these novels depict realistic relationships among siblings. They show struggles within characters and between characters, and they show growth and depth. I hope you enjoyed them as much as we did.
My name is Wendy Stevens, and I teach school library candidates at Jacksonville State University in Jacksonville, Alabama. And it is my pleasure to share 3 international children's books, all concerned with the communities which enrich us, sustain us, and protect us as we negotiate our place and find our way in the world. The first book is From My Window, written by Otavio Junior and illustrated by Vanina Starkov, published by Barefoot Books from Brazil. What can you see from your window? Life in a Brazilian community is depicted through a joyous ride of color and shapes, layers of people and activity, all visible just outside. The narrator emphasizes the value of that point of view when sometimes I can't go to school or play ball outside, something particularly resonant this year. This positive exploration of life in the favela, a whole world within a city with its own language, culture, and traditions, stresses the resident-driven caretaking ethos and interdependency, where even a modest structure is part of a larger urban community with thousands of overlapping stories, inspiring the reader to consider the myriad lives visible from inside their own spaces. Small Mercies by Bridget Crone was published by Catalyst Press from South Africa. In the South African town of Pietermaritzburg, Mercy, an orphan, lives with her pet chicken Lemon and her guardians, 2 elderly sisters who had known her mother when she was alive. But now the sisters are almost penniless, and when her Aunt Flora's mental health begins to fail and their previously happy home begins to deteriorate around them, they take in a lodger, Mr. Singh, to try to avoid selling up. Crone tenderly plumbs the anxieties of belonging, of being young, the sensations of instability that accompany change, the well-drawn classmates, the kind neighbors, and the surprise blessing of Mr. Singh, who introduces Mercy to Indian delicacies and to the philosophies and legacies of Mahatma Gandhi, bolstering Mercy when she needs it most. As bulldozers threaten their home, it is Mercy's quick thinking and call for collective action which saves the day for her and her guardian, as well as the passions of her ineffectual schoolteacher, Mrs. Pruitt, who recognizes something special amongst the sisters' scant possessions. This novel counters the experience of being a child adrift in a multicultural society with the reassurance of a village of interconnected individuals coming together in the service of what is right. The third book is The Elevator by Yael Frankel, published by Tapioca from Argentina. A small girl heads out to walk her dog, but en route her neighbors, a woman scared of dogs, an older man with a walker, and a mother with her twins, crowd into the decrepit elevator. When it gets stuck between floors, the group puts aside past antipathies and differences to enjoy a snack and a story. The vertical orientation of Frankel's book reinforces the elevator sensation with the checkerboard pattern of the floor and the floor between, suggesting different pattern landings, all providing a sense of motion. Throughout, the playful black and white illustrations are relieved only by the girl's red bowler hat and the twins' jumpsuits, until the hat finally finds its way into the story of the bear's birthday. The meta aspect of the book within a book is particularly inventive, and this with the story told within being included in a tiny addition at the end. The 40 minutes the neighbors spend in the small space bonds the group, who are so distracted from the predicament by the good company and are immersed into an imaginative world through storytelling that they choose to continue their impromptu party outside. All 3 books depict communities of individuals who come together for celebrations, conviviality, and strength in numbers. From South Africa, Argentina, and Brazil, the message of looking after each other is a timely one.
Hi, everyone. It's great to be here. My name is Jennifer Graff, and I'm a professor in the Department of Language and Literacy Education at the University of Georgia. My areas of expertise and research involve the intersections of children's literature and young children's literacy practices with a focus on sociocultural contexts of reader response. Today, the theme I wish to share is accentuating and celebrating the everyday. This theme speaks to honing in on or looking anew at common or everyday experiences, reminding us of the pleasures of living in the moment, the ongoing challenges we may also experience, as well as the power of voice, authenticity, and community. Books that fit within this theme enable readers to delight in the familiar and at times explore the familiar from new perspectives. While many books on our 2021 OIB list fit within this theme, I'm going to share these 4 books with you. The first is a story about Afia. This expressive, if not magical story from the UK is written by renowned Jamaican poet James Barrie and illustrated by Brazilian artist Ana Cunha. It's published by Lantana. Each one of Afia's daily experiences in the natural world become affixed to her dress, imprinting her body and mind with memories of exuberant and amazing adventures. While her dress's imprints disappear with every nightly washing, they linger in Afia's dreams. As Afia awakens each morning, ready for whatever the new day offers, so too is her dress, ready for any and all adventures. This book is a lovely reminder of living in the present and appreciating what one has. Next, Cannonball is a picture book hailing from New Zealand. It's written by Sasha Cotter and illustrated by Josh Morgan, published by Sourcebooks Jabberwocky. This book makes quite a splash as it details a young boy's journey to fulfilling his dream of perfecting the cannonball jump and finding his voice in the process. Rituals, a plethora of advice from friends and family, and episodes of missteps remind us of how often we challenge ourselves each and every day and how those challenges and those outcomes, large or small, successful or not so successful, can often mean the world to us. Speaking of challenges and successes, we have the well-paced picture book, Catch That Chicken, written by Atinuke and illustrated by Angela Brooksbank. It's published by Kenilworth Press or Walker Books, set in West Africa. So within the hustle and bustle of her compound in a West African village, Lami takes her role as chicken catcher and her desire to be the best very seriously, so seriously that she fails to heed the advice of others and ends up in a challenging position. With the help of Nana Nadia, she relies on her quick thinking to ensure she retains the title of Best Chicken Catcher. Animated text and illustrations accentuate how our daily responsibilities can be action-packed and emotionally charged in multiple ways. Lastly, I'd like to share Blue Flag Volume 1, authored and illustrated by Kaito, translated by Adrian Beck, and published by Viz Media. With this manga import from Japan, readers are catapulted into an adolescent love quadrangle involving Taichi, Futaba, Toma, and Masumi. With high school as the dominant setting in this volume, Blue Flag illuminates the emotional roller coaster of love, especially adolescent love that can be unrequited, misunderstood, and possibly kept secret due to societal norms and expectations. I do hope that these 4 books delight you and other readers and help remind us on how everyday experiences, responsibilities, and feelings matter. Thanks so much, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the books of the OIB list as well.
All of us have experienced loss in our lives. Loss of a pet, loss of a friend, loss of a job, loss of a grandparent, loss of a partner, or even a child. Loss is part of everyone's life. I am Deanna Day, and I am from Vancouver, Washington. The Magic Doll, a children's book inspired by African art, is by Adrian Yabusa, illustrated by Elodie Nuhan, translated by Paul Kelly, and published by Prestel. This beautiful story explores the Akuba fertility figures of the Akan people of Ghana, while also depicting the deep love that a mother has for her children. The illustrations combine collage and prints of traditional African art. The cultural beliefs in this book could deepen our appreciation and understanding of infertility and what women do to help themselves become pregnant. The back matter includes the importance of fertility statues, as well as the inspiration and the decisions the author made. All the Dear Little Animals by Liv Nielsen, illustrated by Eva Eriksson, translated by Julia Marshall, was published by Gecko Press. This import from Sweden shares a touching and humorous story about 3 young children who bury and hold funeral services for all of the dead animals in their area. The book captures the innocence of childhood and the inquisitive ponderings that children have about death, as well as their compassion to make sure that each animal is taken care of. Esther, the leader of the group, declares, "The world is full of dead things, and someone unselfish must make sure all of these dead things get buried." Some Days is written and illustrated by Maria Wernke, translated by Lawrence Schmiel, published by Amazon Crossing Kids. This quiet picture book with limited colors and generous white space is powerful, emotional, and hopeful. A young girl shares with her mother about a passageway in their yard where there's no danger and nothing bad ever happens, because that is where she meets her deceased father. They swim together through a field of tall grass and they play together. The only problem is that on some days the passageway is not there, but maybe together mother and daughter can find a way to carry that feeling through with them always. This book gives readers hope and time to think, breathe, and feel.
Hello, my name is Mary Napoli, and I'm a literacy professor at Penn State Harrisburg. It's been a pleasure to read outstanding books aimed at introducing readers to a range of stories and perspectives that foster international understanding. I'm excited to share 3 titles from the 2021 OIB list that will enhance STEAM connections and ignite thoughtful inquiry, discovery, and creative problem solving. 1001 Creatures by Aino Järvinen, translated from Finnish by Emily Jeremiah and illustrated by Laura Mertz, published by Restless Books. This engaging book includes abstract, black and white, multimedia illustrations of 26 animals alongside poems punctuated with provocative questions such as, can you mimic the trumpeting sound of the elephant's trunk? Or why do birds make such a long passage every year? The 2-page spreads play with scale while sharing intriguing information about life cycle, habitat, diets, and behaviors, such as bats hang upside down, penguins hoard rocks, or birds navigate. The playful and lively illustrations convey depth and motion, and readers can learn more about the story behind the book, including the illustrator's artistic process of using unconventional tools such as sticks, sponges, and spatulas to create the images. Sound, shh, bang, pop, boom, by Romana Romishkin and Andriy Lishiv, translated from Ukrainian by Vitaly Chernesky, published by Chronicle. Have you ever wondered about sound? In this sensational nonfiction book, readers will discover fascinating facts about sounds, sound frequencies, people of sound, and musical instruments. This book also draws attention to hearing, deafness, and silence. The oversized format includes dynamic neon color illustrations with bold graphics and engaging text features. Translated into over 20 languages, this book, together with its companion, Sight, forthcoming in the US in 2021, was the winner of the 2018
Bologna Ragazzi Award for Best Nonfiction Book of the Year. Plasticus maritimus, an invasive species, by Ana Pago, Isabel Munoz Martins, translated from Portuguese by Jane Springer, illustrated by Bernardo Carvalho, published by Greystone Books. What is plastic maritimus? How invasive is plastic to our oceans? Marine biologist Puego presents a well-researched book about the existing problem that plastics create for oceans. The field guide format provides accessible text, diagrams, photographs, colored pencil illustrations, social action tips, and resources. Pago is involved in multiple environmental education projects and established the Plasticus Maritimus Project, which is available on Facebook. There is also an informative companion guide aligned to the next generation science standards with discussion questions and resources on Greystone Books webpage. The final slide includes additional resources to enrich interdisciplinary connections. Thank you.
Hello there, my name is Quentin Russell. I'm a poet and middle school English teacher working in Columbus, Ohio. And I wanted to talk today about everybody books. There's a special brand of picture book that seems to defy age categorization. And while these books take the form of children's picture books, they invite deep reflection and connection making. They remind us that picture books can enrich the lives of readers of any age. The first book I have with me here is Migrants by Isa Watanabe. And originally published in Mexico, it's been republished in the US by Gecko Press. As the title suggests, this book is a migration story. It contains no words, yet its illustrations are rich with implication. Watanabe's use of a black background causes us to feel each page's empty space. And as animals struggle across their journey, vibrant colors mix and clash with bleaker grays. Rather than situate itself in any particular migration story, Migrants acts as a symbol of the broader narrative of migration across place and time. Readers of all ages will be drawn into the seeming simplicity of its images, and once there, find much to digest and reflect upon. The second book we have here is the Ode to the Goddess of the Luo River, written in the 3rd century by Chao Ji. The ancient Chinese poem was adapted by Professor Yu Zhiying and illustrated by Ye Luying, and published in the US by Min Edition. The vision for this book is, in a word, sprawling, and I do mean that literally. It's the massive fold-out evokes a feeling of unraveling a Chinese scroll with illustrations that pair traditional Chinese painting techniques with a contemporary graphic sensibility. The Ode to the Goddess earned its place as a so-called everybody book with its lavish, whimsical illustrations by introducing readers to an ancient poet whose writings have withstood centuries. And finally, we have The Wanderer, Peter van den Ende's debut picture book, brought to us by Levine Carito and originally published in the Netherlands. The Wanderer is a story of a paper boat traveling across a strange ocean. Rather than presenting a strictly linear narrative, the book appropriately floats from encounter to encounter, each as fresh and as vivid as the last. This structure, coupled with Van den Ende's elaborate, fantastical pen drawings, make for a new read every time the book is opened, immersing readers in an ocean of mystery and adventure. These books prompt all readers to pause, to reread, and to reflect, and they're books that incite dialogue. Age aside, we believe that these books will nourish you and challenge you and ultimately cause you to fall a little bit deeper in love with reading. Thank you very much.
Hello, my name is Nancy Johnson. I'm Professor Emeritus of Children's Young Adult Literature at Western Washington University in Bellingham, Washington. No matter how old we are, no matter our circumstance, it's likely we've all encountered times in our lives when we've needed to rely on courage to get through a day, survive a situation, even discover who we are. Many of the books on this year's OIB list reveal characters who are confronted with the need to tell the truth about their lives. Sometimes it's a capital T truth, other times it's a quieter, more intimate truth, one with an internal impact, a revelation about self, and maybe also society. 3 books that showcase courage and truth-telling, even when it's hard, are Catherine's War by Julia Billet, translated from the French, illustrated by Claire Fauvel, published by HarperCollins Harper Alley. This graphic novel is based on the author's mother's story, depicting her experiences as a hidden child in France during World War II. Tension builds as the Nazis tighten their hold on France. Rachel Cohen changes her name to Catherine, leaves the children's home where she lives outside Paris, and goes into hiding. Throughout the remainder of the war, her passion as a photographer bears witness to her journey and serves as a lens to tell the truth of the countless heroes she meets, whose generous courage saved many lives, including her own. Fauvel's cartooning provides visual richness to the story and is especially strong in its use of color and contrast to document Catherine's journey and tell some hard truths about World War II. Blood Moon, the provocative debut YA novel in verse by Lucy Cuthew, published in the UK by Candlewick Walker, tells a story about the online shaming of a teenage girl after her period starts during her first sexual experience. Frankie and her best friend, 2 astronomy-obsessed high schoolers, want to take a picture of the blood moon. Instead, Frankie finds herself the subject of a crude, graphic meme about her period that ends up going viral. The aftermath is widespread, devastating, and destructive. Brutally honest and often heartbreaking, Cuthew displays how toxic high school, society, and the internet can be around women's bodies, menstruation, and sex, taboo topics rarely tackled in books for teens. Cuthew captures the particular way teenage girls interact in both cruelty and kindness, and the double standards inherent in our culture. She shouts down slut-shaming and cyberbullying, expresses courageous empowerment, and offers realistic characters, including parents who love their daughters to the moon and back. Periods are just blood. Friendships are powerful. Sex shouldn't be taboo. Teens deserve adults they can rely on. In her debut collection, internationally acclaimed performance poet Sophia Thakur offers an intimate examination of courage and truth, and issues a generous invitation to teens to write their own poems and find their own power. Somebody Give This Heart a Pin, published in the UK by Candlewick Walker, reveals an honest journey of identity and doesn't flinch at the hard parts. Divided into 4 sections, grow, wait, break, and grow again, the poems are at times gut-wrenching and other times a tender celebration of the heart. They beg to be read aloud. The truth about the journey begins on the opening pages. This book mirrors the process, the building, the breaking, the learning, and recreating. Your skin turns inside out. Each limb becomes a heart. Bloody body parts across plain paper. Find some I's to dot and T's to cross until the mess resembles poetry. Read yourself between pages. Learn to speak heart. Seeking courage, telling truths, even when it's hard, is sometimes messy. Sometimes it feels like your skin is turning inside out. But always, always, there's a sliver of hope. These 3 books remind us of that, and they compel readers to read themselves between the pages. Learn to speak heart.
Hello, it's me again, Anna Maria Anderson, and now I'm so excited to share 3 titles from the 2021 OIB list that take bold new approaches to traditional formats or genres, such as the counting book, the folktale, and even the epistolary novel. Coincidentally, all 3 of these titles are not only international books that were first published in another country, but each of them has also been translated into English from another language. Let's take a look. Everybody Counts, a counting story from 0 to 7.5 billion, written and illustrated by Christian Rushgifte and translated from Norwegian by Sean Mackey, published in the United States by Wide-Eyed Editions, an imprint of Quarto. Surprising and stylish, this book, the winner of the 2019 Nordic Council Children and Young People's Literature Prize, goes well beyond being a counting book or seek and find to encourage observation, imagination, and empathy. Captions identify locations, some fun or familiar, like a classroom or a park, others unexpected or unusual in a children's book, and invite speculation with questions about what people pictured in the illustrations may be thinking or feeling in the moment. Captions also contain clues that link people across illustrations. Additional questions, secrets, and answers on the back end papers invite repeated readings and deeper thinking too. Rushgifte, when asked how she made this work, said, "The book consists of 2,768 individually drawn people. The people are drawn without outlines and in colors. Everything else is line drawing in cyan. This was to make it easier to count the people, but also to emphasize that it is people, not places, houses, or things that make up society." Gamayun Tales 1, written and illustrated by Alexander Utkin and translated from Russian by Lada Morozova, first published by Nobrow in the UK. Now, when Gamayun, a magical human-faced bird from Slavic mythology, shows up on the first page to tell you, her best beloved, some tales of courage, love, and wisdom, it's hard to resist her invitation to turn the page and dive in. Based on traditional Russian folklore and stories first collected by Alexander Afanasyev in the 19th century, expertly retold and illustrated in graphic novel format for a modern audience, Gamayun Tales introduces readers unfamiliar with this storytelling tradition to a new and vividly imagined world. This anthology collects 3 tales, The King of the Birds, The Water Spirit, and Tina of the Lake, into one volume, adding a useful visual glossary of characters to the front matter and a brief interview with author-illustrator Utkin at the back. Thanks to Utkin's expert cartooning and unique color palette, reading them is a richly immersive, almost cinematic way to experience these traditional Russian tales. Finally, Letters from Bear, written by Gautier David and illustrated by Marie Caudry, translated from French by Sarah Ardizzone, first published in Belgium and published in the US by Eerdmans Books for Young Readers. In some ways, Letters from Bear does the opposite of the other books in this collection, using the epistolary format first popularized in 18th century novels to construct a picture book narrative around a series of images depicting creatures and landscapes, both whimsical and strange. When Bear's friend Bird flies south for the winter, Bear decides to write every day. Bear's letters to Bird are infused with love and longing, enlivened by rich sensory detail, and accompanied by illustrations to pore over and over. Although Letters from Bear was first published in Belgium in 2012, it's especially timely now. Like bears in a den, many of us, children and their caregivers alike, are at home, looking for ways to connect with friends and loved ones near and far away. One way we do that is through sharing books and stories. And if we can't make a bear's perilous and wonderful journey or find one another on a tropical island, we hope that our stories will end as Bears does, with the promise of something we have all been longing for during this pandemic year, a hug from a dear friend. Thank you.